Okay, I was once asked why I watch so many horror movies knowing that the majority of them are probably going to be pretty bad. Then Stakeland showed up on my Netflix queue. This again is one of those, it's the future, it's despotic, and you actually have vampires roaming. Okay, so it's the future, there are vampires as well as religious fanatics and just the overall feeling of just horrible people. So it kind of fits in well. If you like The Walking Dead, this is almost like if The Walking Dead were to be a movie and were to have vampires instead. They go through the description of different styles of vampires. You have children that became vampires, you have your normal vampires, and then you have ones that are older and a lot stronger. They actually have a hardened breastplate. So to kill them, you kind of have to pith them. You have to essentially destroy the brain to the base of the skull. It's interesting to see it that way. The majority of the movie deals with Mr. and Martin. Mr. essentially is an older male character who kind of has like a Mickey Rourke sort of quality to him, who ends up finding Martin after his parents have been murdered and tries to more or less teach him, like, here's how you survive. They do montages of like training montages, like here's how you'd fight with a spear, here's how you'd fight with a bow and arrow, here's how you fight with a crossbow, here's how you fight with the stakes. And they're trying to find the way to New Eden. Like most of these movies, there's that one spot that's entirely untouched, where people can go and they can survive and there should be no issues at all. And of course, on their way there, they pick up a couple other different characters. They pick up a woman who's a nun who was being chased by some fanatics. They pick up a guy who was military, but since he's like the only black person people have seen, he was kind of handcuffed and stuffed into a porta-john. They pick up a woman later on who's pregnant, all on their path to try to get to what essentially should be a better life. So along the ways, there's the almost near constant threat of zombies, of this religious group that wants to hunt them down. So it's got this nice times where there's quiet moments. I mean quiet moments, they remove even the ambient sounds. So when they're walking through a forest, you just hear leaves crunching, twigs breaking. There's no other additional music. Does a great job on those quiet moments, because it lowers tension just enough, and then something happens, which brings tension right back up to it. And in this one, like you can normally tell in these sorts of movies, don't get too attached to characters that don't tend to survive very long. But it's got really great pacing. Special effects on it are done very well. It actually feels like it's an actual world. It doesn't feel like it's just a couple of small towns. As they're traveling, they're going through places where it's a forest, and then they find abandoned vehicles. Take what they can. Go to the next spot. So it's got that nice constant movement to it. Does a really great job on the quiet times. And when it comes to being violent, it does a really solid job when it comes to the violence.